So the dumpster fire that was 2020 is behind us, and I can finally rank my top 5 favorite horror movies that came out between all the dystopian weirdness. But first, a disclaimer. This is not a definitive list. This is just my opinion and solely based on what I've been able to see this year. And I did miss a few. Possessor is one that might have made the list from what I've been hearing. Also The Dark and the Wicked. But unfortunately, I still need to find the time to see these. So don't hate me if your favorite didn't make the list. Just tell me in the comments below. So without further ado, let's jump into this bitch. This movie had to make the list because it was probably the most relevant movie of the year. I wonder if it'll get lost in the shuffle over time when its setting becomes less relevant, and I'm not trashing on it when I say that. For what it is, how it was made, and how excellent it turned out, it easily had to make this list. It's a great movie with a very cool and original idea that was made during quarantine completely over Zoom. Honestly, whether or not it stands the test of time, it got the director Rob Savage an opportunity to make a bigger studio movie, which I feel like he definitely deserves, and I can't wait to see what he can do. This one made the list because so far I've loved all of this director's recent movies, most of all this one. I won't dwell on this too long because I just made a review, but I'm actually a big fan of Landon's formula for these movies. I think that they're extremely accessible and fun and still manage to scratch that slasher movie itch. Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton were great playing into the Freaky Friday concept, and while there are most definitely plenty of movies you could argue are technically better than this, it trumps those for me because I like big, dumb, fun popcorn movies, and this one filled that void for me. This is actually where it starts to get really tough. I struggled with where to place these next two. They're incredibly close, and honestly, I think it comes down to mood more than anything. But The Invisible Man is one of the better movies I've seen in a few years. The tension in this movie is off the charts. Winnell took what is actually terrifying about the prospects of an invisible man and ran with it. I was 100% invested start to finish when I watched this, and I was constantly searching in the background for something to move or be out of place and never felt comfortable. Elizabeth Moss's character is about as well developed as it gets. Pretty much from the first frame of the movie you feel for her and want nothing more than to see her get out of this situation, and most importantly, it does that without holding your hand. This movie is a masterful example of how to deliver a premise without awkward, unnecessary exposition and treating the audience like children. Right off the bat, this movie tells you the situation, how dire it is, and how absolutely fucked Moss's character is, and without ever saying a word, and it keeps that level of storytelling all the way to the end. So this almost made my number 3 spot. It was really close, but this making number 2 came down to which one I want to own on physical media, which one I could probably watch once a year, which one I thought about the most, and that is Color Out of Space. It has Nicolas Cage, which is unironically one of my favorite actors, and who I'm glad to see is finally being cast properly, and this movie is the best interpretation of Lovecraft's work on film to date. The director Richard Stanley is planning to make this a trilogy, and I can't wait to see it, because this movie is a work of art and a mandatory watch if you like Lovecraft. So this might seem like an odd choice. If you've seen it, you might understand, but here it is. This movie came out of nowhere. It was made by a dude who up until now has primarily only made Lifetime Christmas movies, if you can believe that. And it caught me so off guard, it had to make my number 1 spot. I think technically Invisible Man and Color Out of Space are better movies in the grand scheme of things, but actually not by much, and only really because of budget and scope. The acting, camera work, production value, and story of this movie are all top notch, and it's original as fuck. Tonally, it is somehow successfully a mix of Hereditary and Evil Dead. I was glued to the screen from the start, and if this movie doesn't gain mainstream popularity soon, I can absolutely see it reaching cult status over the next few years. It's a perfect example of not needing a big budget to make an incredible and effective movie, and I'm praying for a physical release because I need to add this movie to my collection. And that's my list. I missed a few this year, so it could have looked a little different. There was actually a lot to choose from this year, so let me know in the comments what your favorites were. Don't forget to like and subscribe, And hey, going into next year, we have a lot of spooky movies to look forward to, and it almost has to be a better year than 2020, right?